I think that's like 12 hours on the free version.
Alrighty, I think we're ready to go. I'm trying to remember all the numbers here. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 672, and we're going to be talking about how Persona 4 is a bad, good game. I don't know how that works. This is from a YouTube channel called Hastur Come Forth. That's a little Persona joke there.
Yeah.
Hastur is one of those wonderful personas you might not want to play with. But this came out 2 years ago, has 14,000 views. And I like the idea of these videos. I like the idea of a fan or I don't know, hardcore fan, whatever you want to call this guy, enough to spend hours and hours on a game, who obviously likes the game. They wouldn't spend hours on a game they don't like, unless they're some weird Ludo, I don't know, professor or something. They're studying gaming. And we say, okay, I love this game. I love everything about this game, but it has some big flaws that I can respect totally. Did that with the Mass Effect series. You know, you first play, it's awesome. You play it again, you're like, what just happened? So I get that. I totally understand. Now, in this case, I don't know what to expect. It sounds like he's going to start bashing it, but from the perspective of, well, I really did like the game. Then I learned it was crap. And you're like, okay, are we talking about the same series here? Because this is like bashing like Dragon Quest 4 for some reason, and you don't like the mechanics or whatever the case may be. So there's lots to unpack with the Persona series. It's massive. I always say they hand coded the entire games 3 to 5 every day of the calendar is hand coded, meaning they planned everything out. It may seem repetitive, but all the mechanics are there to allow the player to do many things in their own way, to talk to this person, to beef up the various elements of the game, the social system, the equipment. I think they have a gardening system. There's all kinds of gameplay and mini games you can get involved with. So Persona is huge, and I think people would have picked out its flaws by now because of all the systems. Like, you could nitpick the systems, like the gameplay, like you don't like the Persona system, you don't like the turn-based mode, you don't like the magic. Yeah, no problem. You could totally argue that's good, bad, has some flaws, has some bonuses. That's great. But I want to know his reasoning, where he's coming from, because I still don't get it.
I have looked into the video itself, and well, his biggest reason, one of them, is that he comes from Persona 5 Royal, because that's his favorite game of all time. So he's a bit biased already.
Really?
And he's trying not to compare it like directly to that game too much, but I think he's going over the head with that. So
yeah. Anyway, Lal, thanks for joining us. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you.
All right. So, are you familiar with the Persona 4 or Persona series at
all? Yeah, I'd say I consider myself acquainted with it. I've sadly not had the great opportunity to go too deep into the older ones.
Right.
I played through, I think it was Innocent Soul, one of the ports of Persona 2. Innocent Sin, thank you. Came out. I think I played it back when I was in middle school.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a while since I touched the older ones.
Yeah.
Played through Persona 3 back when I was, that has to be like 2019. That played through that one and gave me fucking serial depression.
Wow.
Maybe think about
I am the protagonist now.
You really got into it.
Made me think, okay, so I remember playing through like the November to December period in the game, where the game is meant for you to just pick up on everything you missed, like spend the time. Essentially, it's a free month, and I just like speed run that entire month to try to get to the end because I wanted to know, okay, where do you take that from here? Everyone's gonna fucking die. Where do you go from here? And then the end of the month, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, we still got a ways to go. And I'm like, oh thank God, I don't want the story to end here where everyone fucking dies.
Only I'm gonna die.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert! People die in Persona 3. It's great.
But best part about Persona 3 is that if you watch the opening, the game literally spells it out for you that you're gonna die.
Oh yeah, the opening is
like,
fantastic.
In Latin and French, so.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably my favorite Persona game. Just it's an overall package. Persona 4 is fine. I would not call it a bad game. It improves a lot of mechanical elements of Persona 3, such as the mixing and matching of fusing demons. No longer is a fucking gamble of what abilities you're gonna get. So it also makes certain quests easier to do, which is much appreciated.
Oh yeah, because in 3, like it's like a gamble which skills you're gonna get for the demon.
Yeah, it's completely random.
I completely forgot about that. That was so annoying.
What you'd have to do would be, and that's why they left a save point outside the fusion rooms, is so you would save, go in there, try and fuse the demons, and if you didn't get the ability that you need for the quest, you'd just reload the save and do it again. Then in Persona 4, they added so that you can add in manually what abilities you want to guarantee, which was such a refreshing take. I just wish the companions were more interesting.
And then you had to eliminate an existing skill once you get a level up on your persona. I remember doing that. That was nice. It was very streamlined. It was simplified for, I think, most players. And for me, Persona 4 was just the most fun I've had. Not to say 5 wasn't bad. I haven't touched it yet. Obviously, it looks amazing. Everyone loves it. But 4 was just a happy, fun Scooby-Doo adventure that felt like you were actually there. You were there in Inaba. You were getting along with all your buddies. They knew what was going on. Yeah, like all.
Oh, sorry. I forgot this is not over Discord anymore.
Yeah,
you got to mute yourself. There you go. So yeah, no, this is the fun one. Whereas 3 was the depressing one. 4 is the fun one. 5 is the sort of mix of adult themes and various funny, cutesy elements, goofy elements, comedic elements. And of course, the style of 5 is way different than both 3 and 4. Now, we did get a trailer yesterday, 2 trailers of Persona 3 Reload. They call it remake, but the title is Reload.
So they can't call it remake otherwise, because everyone is calling it the remake.
It is technically a remake, but they're using the Unreal 5 engine. It looks like Persona 5. The menus look like Persona 5 with obviously the Persona 3 skin and characters and models. Everything looks great. So that looks like I'm going to check that out for sure. I'm just a Persona fan. So Persona is popular. And if this guy thinks 4, which is to me one of the best, if not the best, I really have to question where he's coming from. So
my biggest issue with 5 is that it just maybe took way too many elements from 4, because it's like 4 with a different type of coat of paint on it. That's kind of my impression.
It feels like they took the wrong lessons from Persona 4, honestly.
Yeah, because come on, like Akechi is literally like a child version of Adachi with like a more edge to it.
Adachi, one of the most common critiques of Persona 4, which I leveled against Persona 4 myself when I played through it originally back during COVID, was this game does not respect your intelligence to any degree. It's so harsh. It's so in your face that Adachi is he's not a good guy. But it's also very obvious that the murderer is the murderer. It literally states it. And then in Persona 5 they make it even more obvious.
It's way more obvious. It's far more obvious, and like also like with the amount of mistakes that Adachi does initially on my run. Like I was thinking like when they were chasing after the paparazzi guy that like maybe he is the real murderer, because like he's always at the scene of the crime, but he was like giving like such an impression that he's a dumbass that I fell for it for the first time. And then I was like, who could have done this? Of course, it's Adachi. But
Well, yeah, the thing that kind of gives Adachi's game away is the tie. So for those that haven't played Persona 4, one of the first rooms you go into in Persona 4, in the other world, the TV world, is a room with splatters of blood everywhere and mentions of one of the recent victims, and a red tie in the middle of the room.
Oh,
and one of the only two characters in the game that wear a red tie is your uncle?
Yeah.
Yeah, your uncle and Adachi. Is it going to be the father figure that murdered the woman, or is it going to be Adachi?
No, it's Nanako-chan.
Oh, God.
Nanako-chan is the actual murderer.
All right. Let's get going. We've been talking about 10 minutes, and hopefully this video will alleviate some of my fears I have of this style of communication.
Before we begin, Mike is asking if you may join.
I already sent him the link.
Okay.
All right. Well,
it's just like it's up to him.
Yeah, it's up to him. Let's get going. Here we go.
Really like Persona. I just do. I love the series. I'm very grateful to it for the insane amount of iconic content it's produced and all the classic characters that have come out of it over the years. Even if I don't like some of the characters, or some of the games, or some of the ideas, I can acknowledge and accept that everyone has their own favorite Persona thing. Some people love Persona 3 to death. I know someone who adores Persona Q2 so much that they bust out their 3DS repeatedly in 2021 just to play it. Some people believe Persona 5 Royal is better than Jesus. Some people are just really, really attached to one or two characters, and I even know some brave souls who are still standing the Persona 2 duology after all these years. Godspeed, you heroes. The world needs more people like you. But that being said, Persona 4 utterly confounds me. And the thing is, I can tell that it didn't have to be this way. This game is a frustratingly inconsistent experience that dwells more on the bad than the good for me. And, you are free to like this game if you want to, but I hear some of the stuff that people say about this game, and I genuinely wonder if we played the same game. Oh, but Sammy, the setting is so good, you may be saying. Fair enough. I will grant you that one. The setting is very good. But Sammy, the characters are so good. I will get to that later. I will get to both of these things later, as a matter of fact, because they're both kind of in service of the same thing. When you get
there's nothing wrong with disliking characters in any story. There's all kinds of characters in Persona, so I'm sure you're not going to like one or two.
Oh, I just realized it's a 2-hour video.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not watching the entire thing.
Oh, the great Odyssey.
Yes. This is going to take some time. Oh, Mike's with us.
When does this video come out?
2 years ago.
Let me in.
2 years ago. How does it have worse audio than your original 2013 critiques of Mass Effect 3?
I have the volume down really low. I don't know.
The fresh Canadian air. That's why.
I'm not talking about just being low. I was like, who's phoning right now?
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone.
Oh, pick up the phone.
Hold on.
We all do it. We all, as somebody mentioned, the stream looks like it's 5 or 6 years old. I completely agree. Oh, it's almost nostalgic.
Oh, fuck me. I thought it was pushing the time. My bad.
All right. Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Down to it. I didn't want to make the title of this video so clickbaity, but that's really the best way I can think of to describe this game. If there can be such a thing as a good bad game or movie, like the infamous The Room, or any of the Star Wars prequels, let's be honest, then there can be such a thing as a bad good movie or game, etc.
You mean a flawed game?
Are enjoyable because they're just so
yeah.
fun
let's use
to
like
watch.
one adjective
Even
and
if
stuff
they're
too.
Completely terrible. The end product is good in a strange way, simply because of the
also
charisma
Local Man
or how
still
utterly
perpetuates
manic
the
or
idea that the
insane entire
prequels are
package is.
bad good or good bad.
So he's saying charisma of the characters, therefore it could be a bad thing, which is so bad could be good. I don't grasp it. That's like saying your hero character is so charismatic therefore good story.
I think it's the same argument people use for Caesar. It's like the Legion is bad, but Caesar is really charismatic.
He crucifies people. That's okay because he's a cool guy.
I think that's what he's going for.
I understand the argument because like Caesar is a really cool character, but like his entire idea is retarded.
Yeah, but I think that's what he's referring to is that the characters are charismatic, but their actual personality or whatever he's going for is going to be the downside. That's going to be the crucifixion of this narrative. I don't know, man. I'm waiting for him to make a point.
Yeah.
Persona 4 is the opposite of that. Even if it's technically better than some games out there, I still can't bring myself to like it very much because the bad stuff in it is just so distracting that it completely takes me out of the experience. I can tell that there is a good game somewhere in here, but for some reason, Persona 4 doesn't seem interested.
Yeah,
in
I think we can skip ahead.
I have to.
No, I want to hear what he has to say.
Stuff that I actually
He's gonna
really
repeat
enjoy
this
about
point
the
several
game,
times.
which is a phenomenon you're going to notice me talk about a lot throughout this whole thing.
I think we can go to the characters chapter, like the beginning.
All right.
I want to hear what
characters.
stuff he likes at least.
I really do like. Some of them I like a lot. But obviously, yeah, this is going to be pretty.
Well, we can go to that
negative.
section. How's that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
because I want to hear what issues he has can only really be issues once you know what he liked about it.
Yeah.
Since I really do want to stress that I don't despise everything about this game, I'm going to be nice and start this video by talking about the stuff I actually liked. And
You
in
can
fairness,
walk in
there's
this game?
pretty good stuff here.
You
I'm
didn't
gonna start
know?
with probably the most universally
I was playing it on
appreciated of this
PC.
game, the setting. Inaba is great. Even people who don't like Persona 4 like Inaba. It's such a nice place to just be in and soak in the ambience. The weather in this game is so dynamic, which is a huge step up from Persona 3, with comforting rays of sun streaming down in summer, the quiet atmosphere of
While
the
you're
rain,
showing
or
us
the very nice
darkness
amount of
and
effort they put
snowflakes.
in making
With one of the most murder soundtrack playing in the background.
Rain, I love small houses, and I love towns with personality. And I sure would like to have an awesome Chinese restaurant right down the street. The town gives the game a great deal of character that it just wouldn't have otherwise, and I'm very grateful for it.
Inaba did
The setting
remind me of
really
my
does make
hometown,
this game
so
a great deal
yeah, it's a
more
bit
bearable
biased.
than
Yeah.
it could have been. No. What are you doing here? Teddy, get away. You belong nowhere in the positive section. But now I'm going to address one of the most common criticisms
quirky.
of this game. Or more accurately, I'm going to address one of the most commonly cited criticisms of this game by its fans, and that is the tone. Now, it's no secret that Persona 4 is trying to be a much different game, tonally speaking, than its predecessor. And initially, yes, I agree that this more low-stakes setup was met with some distaste from fans, but I think over the years it has sort of settled in, and people who have grown to appreciate it for what it is. What I take issue with is people taking others who don't like the game and reducing all of their arguments to, grr, it's just too happy, I'm dark and edgy, when that's just not true. I really like the idea of a slower-paced murder mystery type Persona game with lower stakes.
But it's not a mystery!
And I don't think people would have
It is
ever
a
had
mystery.
problem with it if it was just done better. Because I really do like the tone of this game in some very small, isolated parts. It sets it apart from the rest of the series, and I am a big fan of slow pacing when it's actually good. Because that's the thing. This game doesn't seem to understand.
All right, this is getting nowhere fast. Let's jump to characters. He's just making very broad statements.
He's just repeating himself with different wording.
I like the tone, just not this tone. Like what?
Not this tone. This is a much more happier than the predecessor.
People learn to appreciate the tone for what it is, and then it shows a part that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh my god.
Sorry. I
What?
really tried.
Come on.
But Yosuke is about the only character I could actually enjoy for mostly the entire game.
What?
The comic relief?
Yosuke?
Unlikable, pointless, or the way they're written makes me really, really sad. There are some other characters that I kind of like a little bit, with one character who I actually might like almost as much as Yosuke if he developed in the story at all, but I'm getting off track. Let's get started.
What?
Now, I know I said I wasn't going to be the kind of reviewer that just summarizes the entire game and gives my thoughts on it intermittently, but the characters are not the entire game, and the best way to talk about them is to go down the list one by one. So we're going to do a lightning round, baby. I'm really only going to go super in-depth for the party members, but there are a few others I would like to mention as well, so let's get this show on the road. So we're going to start with one of the first members of the investigation team with a strong moral compass, who's one of the strongest teammates in terms of combat ability and kicks ass in battle, but doesn't have much personality to go along with it. Chie Satonaka.
She doesn't have personality?
Sorry to all the Yu Narukami / Soji Seta fans out there, but I'm not going to be discussing him here since I haven't completely watched the anime or read the manga. And simply going off of what's shown in the game, Narukami is as dry as cardboard and the least interesting Persona
He's a silent
What are you
protagonist.
talking about?
So
Like
call him
all the
Narukami for this
Persona
video because
protagonists.
Yu
Can we
sounds
pause a
too
bit?
much like the pronoun.
Like, because all the Persona protagonists depend on the player's choice, because you are the character. It's an RPG, even though it's a JRPG, so you don't really have much choice of like what kind of character you're gonna play physically. But like how you respond to your party members and how you treat them is gonna all depend on you. Like the sarcastic options, that's the anime version, but in the game, how you gonna like reply to them? Like, how were you gonna romance, or like how who you gonna be deeper friends with? All up to you. All up to you. It's like what kind of character does the protagonist Joker have from Persona 5? I keep trying to like find like his name, but like
This is like arguing any JRPG protagonist is no good. It's like they're silent. They're not supposed to have one. That's kind of the point. So to say Narukami doesn't have, and he does have some character when it leaks through with those three options. You can make a serious choice, you can disagree, or you can have a goofy response, because again, it's more lighthearted than the Persona 3. So they did add some options, but it doesn't change much. It's just your choice to make Narukami a goofball, serious, or just disagree. And that's enough. That's enough to get the ball rolling. He doesn't have to be more than just the stereotypical, I'm the prince of the new school. I'm capable. Everyone likes me. I want people to like me. I want friends. I want a good school experience. That's all you need from him to get the ball going. This is like the Mad Max idea. Mad Max is just there to go to interesting set pieces and allow the characters in those scenarios to come out, share their stories, have their problems come out and solve them if need be. So that's typical of JRPGs.
Yeah, if only there were more than 2 Mad Max movies.
Yeah, like what's the personality of Chrono and Chrono Trigger? It's like, I don't know.
Oh, he's the driest character I've ever seen. He doesn't really do anything.
He dies and then he's reborn, and he still
But
has
like somehow all the party members mourn him, and they try to bring him back.
They all care about him. They see him as a leader, even though he doesn't say a word.
They don't really leave an impression, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, W.R. Winter says, by the way, it's really irritating to see people treat Golden as the base Persona 4 experience. True, but that's mostly a problem in terms of releases.
Yeah, you can only emulate P4 now. The base P4.
Like, there's a reason why most people treat Persona 3 Fizz as the go-to Persona game, because that's the one most people played. Whilst I am one of the few chats that play Portable. But yeah, it comes down to which one you played, honestly. Like, I view Persona 3 Portable as the best one to go for, because it cuts out some of the worst elements of Persona 3, such as your companions just playing for themselves, resulting in marring Karen into a fucking wall and killing your entire party, forcing you to reload 10 minutes.
That's like the most hilarious shit ever, because like in Fez, if you use a cheat code, you can enable that the party members be controllable as well. Like, it's locked by the developers that you can't use them, and it's so stupid, because the older Persona games you could control your party members. So why would you? Yeah, whatever. Let's carry on.
All right.
You, and I don't want people to get confused, or myself while recording. That could happen too. There just wouldn't be much to say about Narukami besides that one scene at the end where he chucks the glasses off his face. That was cool. But anyways, back to Chie. I have a lot of hot takes coming up in this video, but I feel like this is going to be the first one that will cause people to crucify me. But fuck it, this is my video. I hate Chie Satonaka. Literally everything about her character rubs me the wrong way. She has no significance in the story whatsoever. She gets
Why?
away with things
No.
other characters are severely punished for, and I can count all of her defined character traits on one hand. The only reason she gets any attention at all is because she's a tomboy who loves meat and kicking people, and she's loud with no filter, which is a niche kind of character that has a certain fan base. But that's all she is.
Niche?
GA barely does anything of consequence in this story. When we're investigating, she only makes a handful of actual worthwhile statements, one of which was literally just her restating Yosuke's thought that he made all by himself, and she got all the credit for it. She is rude as fuck to him too, and what makes things worse is that she always gets away with anything she does.
Okay, so Yosuke, as we all know, is the punching bag. He's the comic relief. That's sort of what his role is.
But he also has a fat fucking mouth of his own.
Yeah, I know. He rolls off. He says what's on the top of his mind. He's pretty unfiltered as well. The number one person who's the foil to Yosuke is Chie. That's why Chie exists, for Yosuke to get his comeuppance. If you don't have Chie, then Yosuke just keeps talking. And maybe Yukiko might say something, but she's too shy. So you have to have this dynamic between the guy who's got your back and who's like, oh my God, this is crazy. We got to get out of here. And then Chie is like, wait a second, what the hell's all this? Shut the hell up. Let's go figure this out. Like, you have to have the voice of reason versus the scaredy cat.
They have like such a beautiful chemistry, and like I want to shit on Persona 5 Royal, but I felt like it was missing this because, for example, like Yusuke, after like the main chapter that he's involved in, he's always in the background. Like they try to give him a nickname when the hacker chick tries to annoy him, but it just doesn't really rub on him. He's just going along with it, and it's just so we have like a third wheel character. But everyone else, every single character, like the main party members from Persona 4, are just like have like such a chemistry that like you can't really take any of these out because they just work wonderfully. Like it takes so much effort to do this.
It reminds me of Junpei and Yukari's dynamic, but where I found Yukari and Junpei a lot more bearable makes it sound like I couldn't stand Chie and Yosuke. They seemed a lot more like friends than Chie and Yosuke. But
yeah, I
regardless
definitely
of
agree. I agree.
Yeah, like when you hear Yukari say "Stupe, ace detective," you don't get the same feeling of malice as you get with Chie when she says stuff like that.
Oh, and my favorite line from Chie is probably when Yukiko is almost going missing, and then he makes a voice impression of Yosuke. Oh, is Yukiko inside that place? Like the voice actress for Golden is just absolutely nails those lines. Like
she has such a fun time. Like the interview she did after the fact was really great.
Oh, I haven't seen that one, but
she put so much personality behind, because she also did the animation as well. So she had time to
that's also like a really good adaptation.
Oh, it's the best. It's so much fun. It takes all
3 and 4 has really good anime adaptations, everyone.
Yeah, 5 was not as good.
4 was fucking crazy.
I love the sarcastic options because that's what I picked.
Exactly. That's why it's so fun. It's just all the stupid responses you make. That's the entire character of Narukami in the animation. It's great. So in regards to Chie not having a personality, not having emotions, or having a bad personality, yes, there are moments where you're like, okay, she's a bit aggressive and a bit violent at times. Like she pretty much beats up Yosuke because he destroyed her.
The Trial of the Dragon.
That was like, whoa, what the hell's wrong with this chick? So that was kind of weird at the start, but then after that, it's just like she's just screaming at him, like, "What do you mean? I'm the comic relief," when he's talking about the beauty pageant. Like all these beautiful, funny little moments are between Yosuke and Chie. That's the main comedy between the characters. So yeah, there are some Yukiko moments, but she's usually just a goof. Like she just can't stop laughing at something stupid.
And the reason why she gets away with it is because she's a woman.
She's the silent pretty one. Everyone's like, oh, we don't want to hurt her feelings. And she is kind of like one of the buddies, and we can get along with her, but she's still a girl. So there's this wonderful little dynamic there. Whereas you have Naoto, who's, I mean, she comes in later, and she's a bit of a mystery. Everyone thinks she's a guy. She doesn't give a crap. She's like, what the hell's wrong with all these crazy people?
Naoto is so much fun.
Yeah. So there's all these wonderful characters, and to say Chie, which is the first one you latch onto, is bad. Like even the first 10 minutes of the game, Chie is doing all the talking. She's doing all the, hey, don't you think Yukiko is cute? Like she's doing all this like things that you would think in your head as a teenager going to school for the first time, meeting new people. It's like, yeah, this is what would happen. So whether you like her personality or not, to say she doesn't have one or it's bad, you got to give examples, because there are some specific moments where it's like, okay, Gia, don't be so violent. But she does have something going for her, and I don't know why this guy can't see it.
As Devin mentioned in the chat, the only point where she really seems to get flanderized is in the Q games, which emphasize her love of meat, which I completely forgot that was something that she really liked. All I kept thinking of is like her being really into like old action movies from your bond with her and being scared of insects.
I think there's a moment near the end of the game where they realize they're going to graduate, and she still isn't. Actually, is her social like where she's like, what am I going to do when I graduate? What's my dream? And nothing. I don't remember exactly what she says. Like that's sort of the goal of these people. Like, what do you do when you graduate? What do you want? What do you do with your life? And it's very similar to Junpei in the previous game, where he was like, all you had was baseball and being part of the C's team. Like that was it.
Yes, like he really wanted to be the leader, and he even lies to the girl about that.
Yeah. So once that's gone, he's like, well, I don't know what to do. And this is this existential moment that high schoolers get. So even if Chie doesn't have, like, this is standard Japanese slice of life storytelling where they don't know what they're doing. They don't have a plan. They don't know what they're going for. And that's Chie. She's like, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. But there's nothing set in stone. And to tie it in with the main plot would be great, as we could tie many things in the main plot. She is involved in the main plot for the first few chapters, as you can see. Her and Yosuke are directly connected to all the events happening. If you take one of those out, like Yosuke needs to go to the bathroom really badly. And she's like, are you crazy? And then they're running around in this magical world. And that's sort of like this crazy MacGuffin that everyone forgets about.
Yeah.
So it's this funny thing where it's like, we got to keep going. And she's like, no, you can't pee now. What are you doing? So there's lots of funny moments with Chie, and her personality shines through. So I don't see the problem with her at all. You can
Also,
dislike her personality for being too weird, but that's like every character being too weird.
Remember, he said Yosuke is the only character he liked. Don't get ahead of
So
yourself.
far,
He's gonna
so
go up
far.
on all the rest.
Yeah,
So-
that's weird.
Yeah,
All right, let's keep going.
see.
But when Yosuke dares to try and fire back, or he makes an innocent mistake, he gets kicked in the balls, or some other misery happens to him because, haha, boy getting physically abused is funny. XD.
It is very
I
funny,
did end up finishing
because
the
Yosuke
Sophie
deserves
game,
it.
but I
It's playful
didn't
as a
have anything else to
slapstick
do with my
moment.
time towards the end of the game, but I became diagnosed with terminal I don't care disease, and I forgot about it 5 minutes later. I'm not exactly done talking about Chie yet, but for the moment, let's move on to her best friend, Yukiko Amaki. And Yukiko is both better and worse than Chie. She isn't rude for no reason, and she's not needlessly violent towards her friends like Chie is, but she also has, like, basically zero personality.
She's an introvert.
What?
Like that's her character, that she's shy and she doesn't open up easily. That's the first chapter's story, that like both Chie and Yukiko are depending on each other for very different reasons. And like it's get exposed through that boss fight we see in the castle. And that's where the characters start to like open up, each of them. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yukiko is concerned about her family business because that's her destiny, or whatever her mom says. She's a really attractive character in the school. Everyone hits on her. She's like, duh, guys, I don't understand. She has no concept of dating and
Yes.
relationships.
That was so hilarious because like I think Mitsuru tries to date Yukiko at the beginning of the game, and Yukiko replies like passively, and then she has to tell her that like, oh, he was trying to date you, and like, really?
Yeah, and actually, she opens up through. I think it's, I don't know, like maybe a quarter way through the game, she considers you her boyfriend, and it's like, wouldn't the girlfriend go out with you to do this? She's like, no, I gotta go with my buddy. Like, he doesn't know that he has other things to do, and she's like, oh, I'm supposed to hang out with you after school. It's like, not all the time. So it's like this. She's just growing up. She doesn't know anybody. This is like most girls.
Yeah.
Like first year high school, they're like, duh, I don't know what the hell's going on. So to get this sort of like, oh, there's not much better, but she's less annoying, is just like, well, that's just your preference. You just don't.
The school life in like P4 feels like so grounded. Like it could like be like a normal slice of life game for all it is.
Compared to, let's say, Persona 5, where you have a model, you have this eccentric painter guy.
Like you always have the motherfucking cat behind you, and he's always gonna comment on every single little thing. That was like really taking me off from the game, because like I just want to do my own thing, but I gotta listen to Organa comment on something. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a Persona game.
Yeah, because they have to fill in the silence from the JRPG protagonist. They used it with Morgana in that.
But they tell me that like you is doesn't have any character, while someone else has to hold your hand the entire game.
As for Yukiko, I found her story very interesting. Like that whole thing in the castle where she's constantly talking about how the prince is coming. I know people that have that mindset, that want somebody to come and save them from their miserable state of affairs.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a strange dream to have where, oh, you're unsure of yourself. You don't know if you have the strength to go through with what must be done. You want somebody to just take you away and live a happy life with you. I found that really interesting. Whereas with Chi, I just found her boss fight fucking weird. With her thing about Yosuke and the game calling her an abusive cunt, which the game does call Chi out on that, and how she perceives herself as just being an abusive cunt at her worst. That doesn't deserve friends.
Yeah, her shadow self battle is pretty simple and straightforward. How they have this codependent relationship with Yukiko. So, she uses her for popularity, and Yukiko's got to be protected. So Chie is there to keep all the guys at bay. So it's like this weird sort of, I'll do that until she's older or whatever. Like, okay, yeah, they'll deal with that as they get over it, and she gets over it. So it's nothing like this massively complex thing, let's say like Naoto or other characters. Like, she's straightforward in that way, but Yukiko, it's a little more nuanced. She's got a little bit more baggage, and she's just learning what it means. We'll see with, I think, Chie is also learning what it means to be in a relationship, and that's kind of the nice thing about these high schoolers. They're sort of naive, and they're learning as they go. So I don't think the argument could be, oh, they're just a bunch of weird kids that don't know any better. It's like, well, that's what all kids are. So,
keep playing the video, see what he has to say before going off on a 40-minute tangent.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, we're making good time.
We don't even have Whisp on right now. What are you talking about?
What I mean is that her personality doesn't really ever add anything to any scene she's in, except maybe some parts of her social link, obviously. Aside from setting the plot in motion by being the first kidnapping victim and dungeon we explore, she really also doesn't do very much. And I'm not saying every character has to have a super active role in the story for the entire game, but there's a certain balance required.
She is literally the target of one of the plot points. So you want her to be a second target or another plot point?
She reveals all her secrets through the TV as well.
Yeah, this guy is arguing, oh, this character is not really involved in the plot. I understand that. You have an ensemble cast. You have all these secondary characters. You're like, hey, they aren't involved directly with the story. Well, actually, they are. And then They're not. That's how these stories work. There's so many characters. There's so many plots. They come in, they do their bit, you save the day, and then they go on with their life. In this case, she's along for the ride, as everyone else is, because that's the nature of Persona, at least in the 3 to 5. So that's expected. Now, the argument is this is not good storytelling because they're not more involved in the plot. I would agree. However, that doesn't mean the character is useless. That doesn't mean the drama is non-existent or the comedy is non-existent. That doesn't mean the gameplay is non-existent. So you still have these residual elements of storytelling, like background stories and comedy and little nuances with the romance, if you do romance a certain path. So this is what you have to accept with Persona, that you're going to have 12 characters and you can't focus all of them all the time. So I don't know what he wants, because what story did that? What story is so involved where you have a dozen characters every chapter that's so involved in the plot? They're plot integral. If you take one out, the whole story collapses. I want to know what story that is.
Persona 3.
I was about to say Persona 3 has the fucking dog, and the dog pretty much just shows up.
Hi, doggy.
Yeah. Everyone loves the dog. Dog is like super smart. And everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, but it's not like plot critical to what I remember. Like, there's no point where the dog is required if it ended up dying and you never used it. Like, the plot would just fall apart. I don't think there's any point where Persona 3 is like that.
Yeah. Like, I always go back to the choices in Mass Effect 1 where you either save Alenko or you save, what's her face? Person who I always killed. Ashley. It's either
you mean Cart. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you could take them out of the game before that and the story would just keep going. You'd be fine. You just, okay, I can only save one person. Who cares? After that point, well, you're right near the ending anyway after Vermeer, but do they have to be super involved in the plot? No, they don't. They did their bit. That was why they were there mechanically. Now they're just along for the ride, as everyone else is. So I don't see what the problem is unless he has some grand concept of good storytelling where all the pieces have to be like neatly positioned on top of each other. So if you take one out, the whole story collapses. So that's my major problem with this argument is, yes, mechanically she's not relevant, but the story is like the nature of the story. The premise is guy goes to small town to make friends, gets involved in murder mystery, has supernatural powers, discovers his friends have supernatural powers. They're part of the Scooby Gang and they solve the murder. That's that. So if you get rid of the Scooby Gang who has supernatural powers, that screws things up.
I would love, let's be fair, he's not making that argument. He's just saying that she doesn't partake enough in the plot, which is also vague as hell, but he does seem to be saying that we need to make drastic changes. Yeah. Although I would love to hear his opinion on Shinju from Persona 3. That would be great. It's like, this guy is only relevant for one arc. How boring.
Yeah,
well, he gets killed off, so yeah. How boring is that?
Keyframe!
All right, let's keep going.
For a cast as large as the ones in the Persona series, where someone consistently doesn't contribute very much to scenes, they start to feel a little wallflowery. And for the most part,
that's every character.
Persona 4 actually does do pretty well. Almost everyone consistently gets a chance to speak, even if the dialogue itself isn't great. But I guess they could only balance this for a certain amount of characters because
not great
consistently gets the short end of the stick. Almost everything that she does say in the slice of life scenes could be said by one of the other girls perfectly fine, and in most scenes she barely says anything at all.
That's an interesting argument. Anything you say could be said by another character, and nothing will be lost.
The style of Yukiko's dialogue is so distinct. I would say, like, all the dialogue that you read, if you don't have the names and you just read the dialogue, like, you can exactly pinpoint like who is saying those lines. Like, Kanji's lines cannot be mistaken for what Rize is gonna say. Or but Yukiko is always like this very intelligent and like well composed answers, and like loves horrible jokes and laughs all the time. While Kanji is like this dumb punk kind of replies, and it's just so in your face.
Yeah, look at
different.
Look at the aggression of Kanji and the aggression of Chie. They're both aggressive, but when you hear them speak, it's so different when they get angry.
So, like Naoto. Like Naoto is like just like the highest intellect of the game. And it's so different. Like it's always like this like very what's the word for that? Like never mind. Just carry on.
All right. Okay.
Kind of boring. She's cute. She has a good design, even though I've been asking why she and Chie are literally the only students that don't have to follow the dress code at Yabagami for a very long time, and no one answers me except the Call of the Void. But behind that nice character design, there's just not much there. It's not like her social link is actively bad like Chie's. It may be waist deep in anime cliches, and her romantic advances towards you, particularly in her rank 6, feel really weird because it kind of comes out of nowhere and isn't hinted at all in any of her scenes in the main story.
But isn't she the love persona? Isn't she representing?
She is the priestess.
Priestess. Okay, fair enough.
Also, these anime tropes in my Japanese video game with very heavy anime themes.
It's so unoriginal. She's so
based
boring.
on a character whose whole thing is, I want a prince on a white horse to carry me out because I feel like a bird that's been caged in like a golden cage.
You don't want that prince. You don't want that prince on the white horse.
I am looking for a hot stud. And Teddy doesn't shut up about that line.
Oh,
the rest of the game.
Oh, right. That's oh, Christ.
Yeah, like he's gonna get to that part. Don't worry.
Yeah.
The stud.
You can't avoid Teddy in this game. Yeah.
But it's honestly not bad. Her arc is decent, but this strikes me as an arc fit for a side character. It barely relates to the main story at all, and it's overall so unmemorable that I didn't even bother to
Smudcast double Persona 4 coming.
Around rank 6 or 7 because I was just turned off by her social link and kept procrastinating on it.
Okay, you don't like the character. I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of a neat subversion to have her.
Okay, let's move on.
Back to the future she was born with now that she can accept it on her own terms. But it doesn't really change my opinion on the rest of the social link. I guess what I'm trying to say is that while Yukiko is probably a better character than Chie, I would much sooner spend time with Chie because at least the 3 character traits she has don't put me to sleep. And that brings me back to my biggest problem with these characters, the 2 of them together. The entire first arc of this game is about Yukiko and Chie's toxic friendship. Yukiko puts Chie on a pedestal because she believes that Chie can be her escape from a future that was just given to her with no other options, while Chie, unconsciously at first, starts to see herself as superior to the other girls at school, and she begins to delight in Yukiko's dependence on her. Before I get to talking about the bad part, I do want to say that this is actually a really compelling setup for drama. The almost parasitic relationship these girls have with each other is genuinely interesting, and I actually wish they had spent more time fleshing this out before each character's shadow self arrives.
What are you talking? It's her entire arc.
That's the entire chapter that you do in Yukiko's castle. Like
he wants
every floor you climb, Yukiko is going to reveal something about herself, and Chie comments on it.
This is part of the main story. It's also connected to her social link a little bit, but
did he fast forward that part? Because there's the fast forward button in the game. So
isn't it a big point that Chie is the white prince that she's talking about?
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of the escapes that she could have in the future. He's admitting it's a good setup. There's just not enough. This is like saying, oh, you know that General Hospital back in the 90s I used to watch? I really liked it because it went on for 10 years with the same freaking plot. I liked it. Like, this is the argument. Oh, it's so melodramatic. I was so glad. It's like, really? You want quantity over quality? That's your argument.
No, smut. That's not what he's saying. He says that you want more, which is vague as hell, but remember, we shouldn't presume like the absolute worst of people based on vague statements.
Oh, yeah.
And in this case, I'd say saying that he wants more of that is fine. I would just argue, okay, where does the line end? Like, where is the line put then?
Yeah,
because they get an entire arc.
Well, I was going to say, does he want like this premise, which is a parasitic relationship, to just keep growing, where it's so unbearably negative, where everyone's like, "What the hell's wrong with you girls?" Or does he want the natural reaction, where if we could delve into your subconscious mind consciously in this magical made-up world, where we see your shadow self tell us all your deep, dark, twisted secrets and resolve them, like we're some sort of like projectionist Freudian guy who can do that for people and help them, of course they're going to use that and resolve their issues. They're not going to go, "Oh, wow, there's my shadow self. Who gives a shit?"
I would not call that a natural solution to an extremely complex problem, but it's certainly an effective one.
I have this power of going into your mind and talking to your innermost desires. Let's not take advantage of that, guys. Let's just leave it alone. Like, okay. I'm Superman. I could fly. Yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
On the scene. I'm not suggesting you make the game longer. Don't do that. Instead, they could have cut down on the exposition by cutting the very first bit of the TV world entirely.
Wait a second.
What?
You don't want...
He wanted more, but now he wants it cut out.
He wants more, but less. I'm lost. What does this guy want?
I want more of Chie and Yukiko, but actually I wanted cut out.
Have you and Yosuke enter the TV world by mistake. You get his persona after finding the foreshadowing room. Yosuke faces his shadow. They meet Teddy, if they really must, and then they leave. This would drastically cut down on the time spent just fucking around. Obviously, there would have to be a little bit of retooling, but there's no...
They need to fuck around. They need to figure out... You can go into a TV. Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh, I have to piss myself. No, you can't piss yourself here. We're inside the world.
But they also have to like investigate because Saki is killed. So like that's the first instinct of Yosuke, has to go in and like search that, like, what's up with this TV world.
Yeah, you can't just... And then all of a sudden he gets his persona after fighting his shadow self, and it's all because he wants a girlfriend and all these other
That's
problems.
all an integral part of the story already.
And he wants to get rid of that because he likes the premise of a parasitic relationship more than he likes you. I'm lost.
But
I have to
Yosuke
wonder,
is his favorite character out of this so far.
Does he actually like... Okay, what does he like in Persona? If Persona 4 setup with him going into the TVs rubs him the wrong way, what is a good way to introduce the person to like the supernatural elements of Persona?
Usually what they have is a guide. So as soon as you enter the world, boom, you get a guide telling you, "Oh, welcome to Wonderland. This is the rabbit. Here's the hole. Do you want to go down it?" That's pretty much how these games are set up. With Teddy is one example. With
Mitsuru.
Yeah, like she already knew about it. Yeah, so there's already people or characters who have that knowledge and they present that to the audience, or else you can't just walk around in a level with like magical things attacking you. That doesn't make any sense. You need someone to explain it.
I mean, you could. But it'd be very hard to keep the person invested if they just get knocked the fuck out by one of the shadows whilst nobody's telling them what the hell's going on.
Yeah, so you need that sort of magical character to pop up and tap you on the shoulder. So to get rid of this get rid of the part where they're trying to figure stuff out. It's like, no, you need this.
Like it's established. It's also established that like you get really exhausted the first time you awaken to your persona. So like if you don't have that establishment, like what are they gonna do in that castle? Like did he forget about that?
Also, welcome, Tyler Preston. Welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey.
Let's keep going.
No reason to split these events into two different scenes, and the time saved could have been spent giving us one or two parts in the real world with Chie and Yukiko together on their own, which strangely doesn't happen very often, and hint at how their relationship is starting to go downhill. The reason I bring this up is that once the shadow cells of each character are dealt with in Yukiko's castle, that's basically it for this really...
So here's a great scene where Chie was so worried about everyone, she got violent. She was so scared and worried about...
I was just about to mention that he's actually showing why I really like Chie.
Yeah, this is like one of the first scenes that I established that like she's like one of the better characters. game.
She's willing to
like-
defend her friends even against themselves because they worried her.
Yeah, like you can dislike her physical abuse. That's fine. But to say that that is just all her character is, while showing footage of her saying that she was worried and showing that she's fucking crying at the idea of her friends being lost in the fucking TV world if they fell in without her. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Every day is great at your Junas.
The interesting setup. Each shadow explains exactly what their deal is, then they're defeated, and all of that just goes away, basically. Gia's shadow in particular has a really good design, but the fact that this is the extent of this controlling, clingy aspect of her character is pretty disappointing.
Okay, the reason why it goes away
That's-
is it's resolved. You're growing up. This is the whole analogy. Or
They are
allegory.
facing themselves. Like they spell it out for you.
Hold up,
It's-
this is
it-
Golden
it- it-
exclusive Winter? Huh.
I have these internal issues manifested in a physical persona right over there who's taunting me and wants to physically hurt me. What do? Well, I have to physically stop it with my magical powers. And then I come to a realization that I'm actually hurting myself. I have to accept this part of myself and move on. And everyone does that. This is like their own little hero's journey. And once they're stronger, they get the persona as a power to help you, the main character, with the main story. That's how this works. It's like a chess piece you could pull out and goes, okay, now I use Chie because she's got fire spell, or she's got water spells, whatever, against this fire demon. Great, no problem. That's part of gameplay. It connects well with the story. I don't know how much more exposition this guy needs to be interested in that, but it made perfect sense to me.
Oh, Winter, you're referring to his footage. Yeah, probably just Golden. I don't think he's going to be doing any extensive comparisons to Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden.
No way.
I thought you meant that it was Chie's reaction that was Golden. I'd be like, huh?
Okay.
But this mild disappointment doesn't even compare to how badly this plot thread is resolved. After the boss fight with Shadow Yukiko, Chie and Yukiko have a really quick emotional resolution with each other.
Yes.
And when I say really quick, I mean really quick. They basically just apologize to each other and say, "You're my best friend," and then they
Because
just
they
leave the
are.
dungeon and the scene ends. But don't forget, we have to have some hilarious
Show the
jokes
scene.
from Teddy, of course.
Show the
for
scene.
that. I was expecting some more closure.
He's
for
not.
these
He's not
characters.
gonna. He's just
Yukiko
playing
returns-
this background gameplay for the
It's
entire video.
it's like 30 seconds long. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I you're my best friend. I would never want to hurt you." Blah blah blah. And all this jazz. Like it goes on. Chie already resolves herself those issues, but then she has to address it with Yukiko because they're going after Yukiko's shadow.
Like when you do both the social links for Chie and Yukiko, Chie or Yukiko, I can't remember which one. But like Chie explains that like he adopted a dog because Yukiko's parents told that like she can't keep the dog. So that means that like she was willing to do anything for Yukiko. So of course like they are best friends. So they can't just like admit that like yeah, I was a bit toxic there. Like maybe I was like relying on too much on this like one aspect. And like they're gonna be just fine. Like this isn't about like, oh, I was leeching and I was like plotting against you kind of shit. No, it was just like kind of thing that like they both had to realize through Bell, and like it was over with the conclusion of chapter 1 of this game.
Yeah,
I don't know, like what is he expecting? Like
yeah, like he wants all these characters' shadow selves and resolutions to be plot integral, so the next chapter relates to it, and the next chapter is connected to that. And then as we keep going, everyone's so involved and so has all these plots that they're like, "Oh, I'm so motivated to keep going." It's like, what was wrong with the first one?
I would say like by the end, like they have to confront Dachi. Like it all complements that because like all of these characters grow up and like they can see that like this crazy adult man is like doing all these wrongs, and they can give like a perfectly adult answer to that. That like,
Yeah.
no, this is all wrong,
They
and we know
are-
exactly.
They are the best group of people because they are directly related to the Midnight Channel. So they know no one else knows about the Midnight Channel except for them.
Yeah.
So they are connected to the villain in that capacity. They understand the villain's MO and how he killed. And it's like, okay, we're the ones who are going to stop you because we've been through this. And no one else knows what that. We can't just go to the police department and say, yeah, there's a magical world in the television at midnight that you go into. Like, okay, you could try, but I don't know if it's going to work.
But like you literally tries that in November, and even I forgot about him. What's the uncle's name?
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
I find it okay. There to a degree,
Great vegetables.
I will agree with him about the castles solving too much.
Dojima.
On the surface, that is. However, as Mango also mentioned, these problems are usually resolved throughout the social link. They are highlighted and resolved in those. Oh my God, Chopper! In those frameworks. The one that immediately comes to mind, who isn't just solved through the social link, but is actually solved through a story and highlights the stuff that the castle was about, is Kanji. The insecure, what's it called? Stool chairman. It was like, I'm not gay. I just have eccentric taste.
Why are you gay?
And he highlights that throughout the narrative, where people are like, are you okay?
No, he's just like scared shitless of people, and like that's his character. But like, it's also I'm not gonna bring that up. Just go ahead.
Yeah,
he opens up to the various groups, including Yosuke, to the point that Yosuke gets fucking creeped out because he always viewed Kanji as a hard ass. And then when Kanji's just chill around, he was like, "You're creeping me out, man."
To school, and they both have a chance to cool down, but no, there's literally nothing. This relationship that is very obviously broken and toxic is just written out of the story after a 1-minute scene where they act like the problem has completely gone away.
It has. It has gone away.
And also, like Mango said, like, doesn't Yukiko's social link follow up on her issue with the inn and resolves it properly? Yes, exactly. If you go through the social links, which I do not know if he went through the maximum, like maxed out all of this, but like all of those issues, like they don't get fully resolved when they confront the shadow, because like, especially at Rize, that's like the most apparent, because like she's an idol. Like you have to like talk through her, because like you think that that's gonna be her resolution, that like, well, she's gonna start a new life. No, like she's still passionate about that thing. Like she still wants to be herself, but like she doubts that like through that career she can be that. But she just can't run away from that, because that's kind of like her life, and like she wants to be herself, and like she needs to realize that yes, like I can be myself while I do this as well.
Yeah, Windows already brought it up, but toxic, really? Like the toxic element is that they're pushing one another to the extreme because they're too scared to talk. And when they finally talk, things get resolved. But the actual big heart of the problem can be resolved if you go through the social link, which is their insecurities about the inn. And at that point, once you're done with that social link, there are very little ties that can realistically be brought up in the main story that can substantiate this toxic plot line that he's fallen in love with.
Yeah, this is like, oh, I like this conflict that's unique. I wish there was more of it. It's like it was resolved. Like what exactly did he want? Did he want this like this chapter long or series of chapters long where these two girls who are best friends secretly hate each other, and this like what rivalry? Like, what do you need?
That's what I mean. Is that that's kind of the problem right now? Is that he's not establishing what he'd want.
Yeah, like he showed an example of I don't know, pick a soap opera, pick another game, pick something where you have a rivalry between friends, and they're sort of like fighting off each other, they're stealing off each other, they're taking each other's opportunities, whatever the case is. If that's something as an example, you say, oh, this is good because there's more conflict, there's more drama, I don't know, whatever it is that he wants, then we can say, okay, at least we know where he's coming from. With this, he's like, well, I just like this element. It's like, yes, I like it too. What's your point? I wish it's like, this is like arguing the chocolate sundae didn't have enough chocolate in it. It's like, okay, fair. What did you want? And you never tell us, well, it needs fudge, it needs a glaze, it needs like actual pieces of chocolate. It's like, oh, okay, that's a lot of chocolate, buddy. But he didn't say that. We don't know what he wants.
He's like a medieval recipe. There's a lot of stuff lost in translation.
Something is missing here. Like he feels like there should be more, but he doesn't know enough to tell us what that is to fill in the blanks. It's a weird puzzle of like, well, there's all these pieces missing. I just don't know what to put in there. And you're like, okay, then you shouldn't be talking about why it's bad then. Anyway.
I don't know how many of you know this, but a toxic relationship can't be fixed in 5 minutes and promised to be better.
Sure it can.
That's the first step, yes. Recognizing you have a problem is excellent, but there's a lot of work involved after this first step before you can really patch things
I
up.
don't go to these
Especially
games
since
to
these
have
two
real
been friends for an unspecified amount of time. So this kind of mentality could have potentially been going on for years. Oh,
I don't care. I genuinely don't fucking care if this is lasting for a decade or one day. That's not what the game sets up. That's not what the game is about.
These best friends could have had a horrible relationship over years. You're like, yeah, maybe.
They could have, maybe. But at that point, I don't think they're fucking great friends, are they? If all it takes for them is some strange mute that only talked through his fucking fist to show up to solve that problem, it was probably just skin deep. And you're just thinking way too much about I would love if they did this thing and this thing and this thing. And that is a healthy mind for a potential writer to have, where they can build on something that they found lacking in another medium. But that should not be held as a guillotine above Persona 4's head.
Yeah, the interesting thing about you is he comes in, he's the prince of the school because he's so nice and gorgeous and friendly, and he solves everyone's problems. And everyone who sees him is like, wow, look at that cool kid. Like, he's cool. He's this cool dude. And we don't know why. He just looks cool. But the girls are aware of that. Even in the anime, it's hilarious. They're all like, oh, it's you. Whatever he does is cool. Or whatever he says, it always comes out nicer from you as opposed to
yes.
Yosuke.
If you says this isn't as creepy as Yosuke.
Yeah.
Yosuke,
so they accept him easily. They're calm with him. So when he's going through their social links, it's like, oh yeah, you're my friend. I get it. Yeah. As opposed to if Yukiko was talking to Chie, they would get into their habit of whatever they would joke about. So this is why we have protagonists. This is why we have characters who are charismatic, who are liked, who are trusted. And in this, you can actually change your personality near the end with the endings, but that's pretty rare. You're pretty much the go-to virtuous guy who's here to solve problems. That's pretty much what a protagonist does. He pushes the buttons of the universe, of the story world, to make things happen for the better, for the most part, in most stories.
Oh, yeah.
According to Persona 4, toxic relationships can be fixed just by doing the bare minimum. This is the first and most egregious example of the game treating accepting your shadow as completely erasing all the
let's
problems
move
that
on.
shadow
What?
presents. Yes, accepting your shadow and acknowledging these faults of yourself is great. That's how you start making real change. But after the start, you have to keep going.
Yeah, you have to deal with the shadow before you're allowed to progress somebody's social link. The game writes itself.
And then we have the epilogue where we have the time skip where everyone is resolved and you see them all more mature and healthier and happier.
Yeah, the golden ending.
You're literally not allowed to progress Yukiko's anything until she has accepted her shadow. What do you mean the game just says that's where her story ends? No, you have to progress her arc before she's willing to accept the whole thing about the end.
This is like a guy who's like, well, these people have so many issues. They should have seen a therapist by now. And we should have gotten a story subplot where they go see a therapist and they have all these issues resolved and they cry it out. They talk to their parents. They cry it out some more.
Oh my God, Smart. Is that why he likes Persona 5 Royal so much? Because Maruki.
Oh, no. I created a virtual world for everyone to be happy. Like, oh,
everyone's gonna be happy in my world.
Oh God, I hope not.
After this, these aspects of the characters completely vanish and are basically never brought up again.
Because they're resolved.
In some cases, anyways. There are exceptions. Yeah, there's the stuff about Yukiko not wanting to inherit the inn, but that is way less interesting to me than this relationship dynamic that the game
that's a major part of her character. What are you talking about?
That's her story.
That's the story.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it again? What does this guy want aside from more conflict?
He wants a slice of life story with Chie and Yukiko's toxic relationship being explored, which doesn't take too long. It's only one aspect of their relationship, and they get over it. How many more chapters do you want from that?
Yeah, think of Game of Thrones. Like each book is broken down into one kingdom. Like this guy's like, I really liked the second book. They should do more of that. The third book is garbage because it doesn't continue the second. You're like, dude, that's not how this works.
No. I want a Monster of the Week setting, but like it's all about the toxic relationship of these two characters.
Dude. It's like every story must follow this only path where I want more of the thing I like, but not anything else. Sorry, we can't mind read our audience.
What a loser.
Chie and Yukiko's arc is so frustrating to me because there's some really good and intriguing stuff in here. I just spent like a full page.
Go to psychology. Go to university, take a psychology course, and just spend 4 years and see if you still like people.
High school best friends who have a toxic relationship in the background, which is reaching on each other.
Deal with a realistic toxic relationship where somebody is down in the dumps for any amount of time, be that 2 months, 6 months, 2 years. You're gonna be looking down on humanity as a whole. Yeah. Trust me, buddy.
They're not like beating each other up or like trying to like steal from each other. They're
not gaslighting one another. They're not pushing one another away. They're not pushing each other over the dumps.
Like they are so cute together. Like I know it comes off creepy, but they are. But it feels so real. It reminds me of like some of my high school friends, actually.
Yeah, there's no Montague Capulet theme going. There's no rival gangs. There's no like blood feuds. There's nothing going on that's like, oh, we should see more of this. No, it's just two girls depending on each other for different reasons, figuring out that this might not be the best thing, how they're going about it. And then they get over. It's like, yeah, you're right. Stop doing that. Yeah, we should just, hang out, be nice, and deal with their problems when we got them. It's like, yeah, you're right. We should do that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go for that.
But this guy wants, like, I don't know, some sort of HBO, like, 22 plus age group drama plot of revenge and, like, oh, dirty secrets, and I slept with your son, and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
as Window mentioned, he wants that Star Trek adventure for like 2 years, where it's just a constant back and forth of them cheating and blackmailing one another right under you's nose or some shit.
Stardate 361.
Beverly and I are having our 6th fling. We don't know why, but the sex is still awesome. Okay. Thanks, Jean-Luc. That's great. Anyway.
Talking about why I really like it, but the game just didn't seem interested in capitalizing on this setup.
Okay, let's move on.
Oh my god! Why does the game do it?
Is he gonna talk about this?
Why does the game do what I want it to do?
Or incredibly dismissive and abrasive towards actual real life toxic friendships at worst.
Oh my god!
But I don't want to be that guy.
I don't fucking care.
Say at all.
Can we skip a few seconds?
I don't care what the game has to say about.
You take their social links, and you combine them instead of they're completely
You
unengaged.
combine this, dude. What if you don't want
What?
to? What if you don't want to do Chie's social link or Yukiko's? Now you have to combine them. That's
Like
not how the game
they are
works.
so distinct from each other. Like that, the struggle that Chie has is that like she wants to look tough, but actually she's the shyest of the entire group. She just wants to put on this face that like she can protect all of those people. Want to
Well-
be dependable.
Now he's going from storytelling bad. If only the gameplay reflected the thing I want from the story, then then we'll get the Yukiko and the Chie Persona team battle fight, shadow fight scene where they could like what? Then what? Then you rewrite the story the way you want it. Like,
Oh my god! Winter is saying like, okay, what if the problem is this guy spent all his time fishing instead of doing the social links?
I would honor.
He really wanted that in the Guardian, dude.
You heard my story in Guys to Persona 3. Maybe he had a similar thing, but rather than being gripped by the story, he just got gripped by the fishing.
Yeah, this is like me saying I really like Mass Effect 1, but the part where you have to choose between the two people on Vermeer, like why couldn't you just have a gameplay option where you could run around really quickly and save them both? It's like because that's not how the story played out, buddy. And the story's fine as is. It's not better or worse if you had that option. That would just be a gameplay element for you to show off how good you are at gaming or at running or whatever the case is. It would also defeat a lot of the drama and put it as more of a power fantasy than it would of, oh my God, I just lost a friend. So I want the drama the way my gameplay works now because I think that would be better. Yeah, and if you had like 50 other hours or 50 other years to make the most complete experience, you can make all these kinds of choose your own adventure paths in just this dynamic story of yours. This is not how game design works. This is not how main storylines work. Okay.
Engaging individual stories, make their social link about them patching things up with each other. Because these characters
Why?
do work well together. There is room for a really good emotional
He's
story
still
of these two
talking
girls
about
fixing their
this.
friendship and working on their selfish shadows of themselves that cause this rift between them together. I think that would be really cool, and it would make me like these characters a
So
lot more.
does this guy want to be a therapist when he grows up? Like, what is this nonsense? I wish they could work together and you could connect with them in their social link and they have two social links that becomes one. And you're like, dude, play the game. The game has social link per character, one path. That's it. They resolve each other. It's fine. It works out. It may not work out in the full detail you wanted, but they both work out separately.
If you could actually see and help with this resolution, that would be way more compelling instead of just being told not to worry about it anymore. The only issue with this is managing how their arcanas would work, but I don't know, they could just share one or something. Use your imagination. Okay, wow. I think that's the most emotion these two characters have ever gotten out of me. Let's move on quick before I come to my senses.
Oh, thank God.
Lise is actually pretty cool. I like her. No, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do my girl dirty like that. Let me try again. Rise rules. Yeah, she's so
Simp.
much better than every character I've talked about in this section so far. She's actually fun to watch. Her energetic personality is just right because she's bubbly enough to be
She throws herself at the character every chance. Even
Simp.
if you're not,
She is the simp. She is
Yeah.
initially I was annoyed by her, like how much she wants to suck Yu's dick. But when you get to know her through the social link, she kind of becomes very interesting. Because I did know like a girl like that was like kind of like an idol, like that. Then like she got like burned out. So it's like but very similar to like what that person went through.
Yeah, it's
I
a
would
very
say a lot of Persona characters sort of get turned off by the fact that she's dripping all over you at every chance and like giving him compliments and wishing that why weren't you with me? Like why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we dating? Blah, blah. It's like oh my god.
Initially like
Cock-blocking.
yeah, but like it kind of grows on you like how much she's teasing the boy.
Right, and then you have
I mean you Narukami is like the perfect man in that village. So
oh yeah, no, she's smart in what she's doing. I get it. Like obviously she's not stupid. She sees this guy
Yeah.
who solves everyone's problems and helps her out and really nice to everyone. But then they have the foil I call I don't remember her last name.
Abihara.
Is it Abihara? She's
Abihara.
she just grabs you and says, "Okay, we're dating now." I was like, "What? What are we doing?"
That was also a nice character too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to see these characters be not romantically different, but to have different attitudes towards you because he is the prince. He is the guy that every girl likes for whatever reason. So to have the drooling girl is like, okay, makes sense. To have the best friend like Chie, to have the shy girl like Yukiko, it's like, okay, like this all makes sense. To have these not archetypes, but to have these personalities in relation to young adults interacting. I think that's pretty cool to have all that range of behavior. So that's, to me, is smart. You can't. There's no one personality that's the same, which I like.
Yeah.
Engaging, but not so much that she becomes obnoxious. Her very
She's obnoxious.
She is absolutely obnoxious.
She is not
shy and blushy like literally every other girl.
That's why the funniest stuff is to just cock block her.
She dropped so many hints without even flinching, and my jaw genuinely dropped during certain shrines.
She doesn't drop hints. Look at one for like. She's like, yes, my boyfriend.
You're the kind of person who gets flat.
Actually, let's pass on going to your place. My grandma helped me wear this kimono. If it were to get undone, I wouldn't be able to put it back on correctly. You know what I mean, don't you? Gotcha.
Like, holy shit. I was not ready for that in the slightest.
Bruh.
And yeah, I dated her.
At that point, that's like the New Year's thing. That's like well after you've met her.
My dick was so hard.
I was not expecting her to fuck with me again after the 2000th time this year.
My penis skipped a frog.
I was not expecting the girl to drool all over me again. Okay.
Is the only romance option in the game that I actually like and would feel comfortable dating.
Oh, are you serious?
What?
I would be comfortable with this girl drooling all over me to date me. Like, okay.
How could you not be comfortable dating Naoto? Come on.
Naoto is the best.
Just because she's short?
She's
what
short.
You have against tall midgets, okay?
She does everything perfect. She's the smartest person in the group. She has a gun in case anything bad happens.
Only thing she asks of you is that you stick around with her.
She's amazing. Naoto is absolutely amazing. Like, always the funnest, the most fun characters are always the detectives in stories, and they're the most accomplished. They could do anything. And the fact that Naoto is this charming backstory, and she wants to be more feminine and wants more friends, etc., etc. It's great. Good stuff.
Whilst being accepted into her dream job.
Yeah. She's planning her future. She's already 5 steps ahead of everyone else.
Although I would argue that Kanji is more fun.
Kanji, he was my favorite character. Like every dialogue from Kanji is fucking hilarious. And when I was playing Persona 5 Royal, I was like feeling like, oh god, I wish Ryuji would just die and Kanji would replace him. Like the game would have become so much more enjoyable. For real?
For real?
For real?
Okay, stop simping. No, Naruto deserves the simping. Rise literally throws herself at the player character every step of the way. She deserves a cock blocking.
She needs a timeout.
We're all simp for a certain character.
Not too helpful in the actual investigation for the most part, but she does occasionally say something that's both useful and actually in character for her specifically to think of, which I do.
So none of the others do?
What she lacks in detective work, though, she more than makes up for in TV work. I didn't want to go into gameplay for this section on characters, but Rise's navigation is such a key part of her role in the game, more so than combat is for other characters, that I have to include it here. To put it simply, Rise is just broken. This is a problem with the gameplay, which I'll get to later, but in terms of her character, Rise is a boss. She buffs everyone, powers them up, saves them from dying. She can help you in all of the attacks, and she can even bring
like she is overpowered
because she's just that powerful. Just stand Rise. That's all I'm gonna say. The biggest issue I have with her is that
no standing.
Well, it is definitely
no standing
better
here,
than most
sir.
No standing idols.
Shadow-related struggles in a very believable way. I kind of don't agree with how it ends. She's perfectly happy quitting show business and having a normal life.
No.
She's not perfectly
happy.
Manager
That's a
manipulates
lot.
her and makes her
How
feel
can you be
horrible for
oblivious
leaving
to
her
that?
life behind, to the point where she starts to cry, and then she just goes back to being an idol at the end.
She gets jealous
Yes.
of Marie, I think, in Golden, and she's like, "Wow, Marie's really talented, and she's getting all the attention. What the hell? I'm the talent. Oh no, it's Naoto as well in the beauty pageant as well. Yeah, she's like,
Yes.
what the hell? I'm the most popular girl here. Why is that not working? This does not make any like. She was getting pissed. It's like I should get back into modeling. It's like, oh,
Like she's extremely competitive, and that's why she's so taking it personally that like she isn't winning in the end.
yeah. So, did he miss that? Did he skip that part?
Apparently, yeah.
Like, I do sort of respect the conclusion she comes to about how Rise and Reset are both parts of her, even if I didn't really notice this being shown very much in the context of this social link. But I'd feel better about it if
Oh
this
my
didn't come
God.
about because of her manager pestering her all the time and literally guilt-tripping her into reconsidering everything. Like, sorry that I'm not completely cool with a teenage girl who wanted to get out of this industry, volunteering herself again to be sold as a product.
She's a model. That's what they do. My agency wants me to work more so they can make more money for themselves.
But it's not morally right to be a model.
Like she's a popular model. She's more than a model. She's what they call an idol in Japan. So she models, she sings, she dances, she does all these things. She's basically talent in general.
There is an argument to be made, I'm sure, of not having you essentially sell their bodies as products. But Rise is clearly not the kind of woman that, like, she doesn't strike me as the kind of person that's obsessed about people wanting to lust after her as much as they just want to like her.
She seems mature. Like that's the thing. Like she goes back to slow down her life, finish her high school, get the bare minimum to become an adult. And she's contemplating, well, should I go back to being an idol? Should I stay here with my grandmother? Or, what should I do? And that's a pretty mature storyline. There's nothing wrong with it. But to say that, she doesn't resolve this or figure this out is like, what? It's part of her character. It's part of her arc. It's part of her.
How can you miss that? Like she's not. She's telling herself that like she's happy with this life, but she isn't. Like she's grateful for you for what and the friends that like she got on the way that she got this far, but she wants more out of life. And like this is like so grounded. Like this is real. Like this is how people act as well. They're not gonna be enough to just like go back into like a quiet life. They want more out of it.
I would not care if it wasn't realistic.
Yeah.
I genuinely would not care if it was realistic. The main thing I want out of these games is just investigate. Not necessarily, but like try to play out what would these stories look like? How would this character's story play out? And with Rise, that's an interesting take on the idol industry. He said it's not just this fucking slave industry. These people are also something like part of them are in there, and they want to be in this industry. It's not just a victim complex.
Oh, I think like I said like realistic instead of believable. I would go with believable.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
But Rise as a character at least remains consistent personality-wise and is always enjoyable through the whole story as well as her social link. Like, she's a very good character, especially by this game's standards, but she's just
Oh
shy
god,
of being
what
truly
is he gonna say about
good. Overall,
Kanji?
a great breath of fresh air once she
He's
arrives.
gonna call him gay.
she's a great character.
Eddie,
She's
on the other hand,
consistent.
is a very interesting character because everything about him is a complete piece of shit. Fucking guy in a stupid fucking suit makes every stupid fucking scene that he's in worse, and I never laughed once at anything he did. I do feel a tiny bit bad at how much I hate him because he seems to get a lot of flack from the community already, but holy shit, it is so deserved. Oh my god, I can't stand this fucking
You know
character.
what? I actually like
Eddie
Teddy
is
more
so
than Morgana.
Dumb. That's the best way to put it. He's an idiot. He's weirdly horny at every opportunity.
He's literally a devil. He comes out of the Midnight Channel. He has no idea about humanity.
Yeah, he is a shadow.
He's a magical being that has no. He's trying to acclimate to humanity.
Skip to the next character. Are you saying he doesn't have anything interesting to say about Teddy?
How can
everyone's favorite character?
Yeah, you could say Teddy's a bit annoying, but he's horny. He's a child, and he has a big responsibility to his friends. He cares about his friends a lot.
Yeah, like whenever like Teddy becomes like serious, that's my favorite part of that character.
I don't know if I want to say he's horny.
Well,
when I think of horny, I think like he's crass. But when I think of horny, I think the peeping Tom scene that you get in every Persona game from 3 to 5, where they peep on the girls. Like
I mean, like they do have the hot spring scene with Teddy.
Yeah. That's like what I think of as horny. But most of the stuff that comes to mind is like crass and seems to come off the wrong way, but he does strike me as the kind of person that would steal someone's panties.
No. He's hitting on everyone. Like he's constantly, like even Kanji when they're supposedly drunk. So like he's just like being amorous with everyone. He's doing whatever Yosuke needs for work. Like he's just constantly working. He's just go. So whatever the story needs someone to do, he'll fill it in. He'll do the comic relief. He'll be the punching bag. He'll be the guy who saves the day. Whatever the issue is, he'll come in and do it for funny reasons mostly. So he's basically like a Yosuke, but a bigger punching bag.
His suit is weird as fuck, and his human form, while pretty, is... Wait a minute. Human form? If he has a human form, then why does he stay in the suit 50% of the time?
Because he feels comfortable in it. He even states it in the game.
For good, but nope. It is so distracting to see him wearing this suit in the real world. At this point, why give him a human form? It doesn't add anything to the story if he's just going to stay in his fucking suit.
If he is so concerned about Teddy in his bear suit, he would be freaked out by you able to summon a myriad of personas that are mythological demons and creatures. That would freak anyone out. But no, a little plushy animal that you could hug at like an amusement park, he's fine.
Ripping. When I saw Teddy for the first time, that wasn't on video, like personally back in 2020, I was like, what the fuck is this thing? It clearly can hurt you. Because look at it. Yes. Look at him. There's no way he can actually wrap his fucking little hands around your neck and squeeze. Whereas his human form is so fucking creepy. If you saw that for the first time when you went into the TV, if you saw that guy walk in, you'd be like, you're the main villain.
Yes, yeah, he has. He is like Johan Liebert from Monster.
Yeah, it'd be like Johan walking in. You'd be like, "You're the main villain." I don't care what the game says. You're the bad guy.
It's so well played out as it is, like in the game, I would say.
So when he actually shows up with his human form, you're like, "Oh yeah, it's Teddy." Wait, he has a human form. All right, I trust him now because it's Teddy. Teddy's not gonna hurt me.
He's just gonna hit on anything that moves.
Yeah, and the game doesn't betray. It doesn't betray that trust, and that's great.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's another thing about Teddy that frustrates me. He is such a bizarre character in terms of the lore of the series, which is
because it's meant to be bizarre.
Game that he's introduced in, and yet they barely explain him.
I don't want them to explain him.
That he doesn't know who he is.
They barely explain Morgana.
Barely.
Yeah. Oh.
But when it's revealed that he's a shadow, that just raises more questions than answers.
How
does a shadow have a persona? They just handwave this by having Igor say, IDK bro, it just sort of happened, lol. Why is Teddy the only shadow to evolve a personality like this?
Doesn't
Why
matter.
the fuck
does the idea of
the bear suit?
It doesn't matter.
Does the idea of extreme emotion forming their own personality really break anything?
Yeah, they introduced Teddy. What was going on before we came? And he was mostly alone, didn't know what to do. Then he heard a voice, and it was you guys. Like, oh, then he started watching, listening, and paying, following. Yada. Plus, he's also the provider of all the glasses, so that you could see the shadows. So this is like the guide. This is the magical guide that helps us along our journey. This is the Gandalf. This is the
so he's basically Sauron. because like he's the Lord of the Glass.
he is a necessary component in any story that has a magical world. This is the rabbit, the hare in Alice in Wonderland, who helps us along, and that's fine. We don't need all of his secrets revealed. It's not that important. It would be nice if we got, actual empirical reasoning for how the magic of the magical world works.
No. I don't want American scientisms in my fucking mythological stories, okay? Fuck off. I don't want somebody in Persona 6 to go, all right, I want 5 centiliters of egg.
I want midi-chlorians explaining why only those with midi-chlorians can summon performance.
Yeah, let's have the midi-chlorian equivalent of shadows.
They could do that. They could
You need 2.5 shadow to form a teddy.
Yeah. They could go that route if they wanted to, but they don't have to. That's the point.
Yeah. And I'm fine with the
Or to
explanation
make
we got.
people like him more if he had literally never met a single human being before the 3 Stooges over here. Who's gonna appreciate that bear suit in this world? The other shadows? Yeah, good fucking luck with that, buddy, because none of the shadows here seem really interested in making friends. So much
Doesn't he
of
make a
today's
point
lore
that
is
the shadows don't care about
or
him?
the way it's explained is really stupid. Normally, I don't give a fuck about plot holes, but they have to be trivial enough not to take away.
What's the plot hole with Teddy being a character?
You don't care about plot holes, but you were a big component. You're a big proponent of these guys need to be acting consistently with their characters earlier, without stating any evidence of them not doing so.
Like it perfectly makes sense. Like because like you think about it, like hey, Teddy is here, but like we left him in this world, and somehow he survives. Like he didn't even have to fight them while he was alone. Like he wasn't like part of your team. Like how come that didn't occur to be a problem for him? Oh, because he's also a shadow. We know this later in the game.
Yeah.
What is the plot hole about this?
Think of other characters that are like supporting characters, or like I'm going back to like Chrono Trigger with like you get trapped, you go back to the end of time. There's the old man with the bowler hat and the cane. He's just standing under a lamp, and you find out he's Gaspar, one of the 3 wise men of the Kingdom of Zeal, and somehow he controls time. Somehow this is what he does, and you're like, I don't know.
How did he get the stick?
How did he get there? How does he control time? Why is he immortal? We don't know. Like, does it matter? No, it doesn't really matter. Like, he's just an old man who's there. We know he's part of the magical Kingdom of Zeal, which has been destroyed. And there's all this history of that. You can learn about the Zeal Kingdom and the people there. But you don't need like, well, how does he do it? How does the wings of time work? I don't know how like, dude, like, what do you want? An instruction manual how Teddy came about and why he's weird and why he has, flickering ears on his top of his head? What's the problem here? He's a magical creature from the magical TV land that you discover your shadow selves in. Like, do you want these shadow selves explained even more? Do you want the demons explained even more? Like, what exposition does this guy need for him to wrap his brain around Teddy?
I thought the whole point of making him this big fluffy teddy bear is that you're gonna be, as I mentioned earlier, you're not gonna think he's going to try to kill you, so you're gonna be a lot more relaxed about him and think about what information is given to you and go, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And go with it.
Exposition guy, supporting cast.
No reason to think he's gonna try and strangle you in your sleep.
Yeah, he's got your back. He's a good guy.
I would actually relegate him to be less. He fits that role better than the kid from Persona 3. You know the one that's
the kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah. It's like he is extremely sus. Like he is so fucking sus, despite the fact he's very important to the plot, and he's very like he gives you some of the most important information in the entire game. But you're not sure you can trust him just because he says stuff like, "I'll always be watching." Whereas was that Teddy that said that, I'll always be watching. I'd be like, that's funny. I'll trust you.
Well, once the kid wants you to kill him, you're like, what?
Is this some kind of Antichrist sacrifice?
Yeah, this is getting a little deep for me, sir. I was going to kill myself at the end, but apparently I have to kill someone else.
Yeah.
I was going to commit
You're not gonna get in my way.
Yeah.
Overall experience, and because of that, I usually don't even notice. This stuff about Teddy really takes away from the overall experience.
How?
I definitely notice this.
How?
I can sort of understand why he gets a human form, though, I guess.
Why?
Because dealing with his shadow has made him more like humans, but wait a minute. Teddy's shadow? How the fuck can a shadow have a shadow? Is this some sort of Inception type shit? What the fuck is happening here? I feel like I'm losing my mind. It honestly feels...
You're
Developing
losing
a
your mind.
persona is a proof that, like, you have a soul.
He's losing his mind about a video game that's a slice of life of a bunch of high schoolers going into the TV land to fight metaphysical concepts of themselves and the rest of the people.
Again, I thought it was quite obvious that, okay, so mostly humans and other things equivalent with souls, a very strong personality, such as a fucking dog, can get a persona. What is so strange about a shadow growing a persona? And then having a shadow reflection of themselves.
I guess it's okay if it's Morgana because it's
I guess it's too metaphorical for him. Like, how does a shadow get a shadow and a persona? It's like, dude, that's
because
the
the shadow is beyond just a shadow. It might have been formed from shadow, but it's clearly might as well be a fucking human at this point.
Yeah, he has a personality. The magic of him having a human body was, again, it was exposed. We saw what happened with the X-ray. That would have been, if you had a doctor doing an X-ray on your body and they found nothing inside you, that would be the discovery of the millennia. It's like, how is this physically possible? But they just write it off like, oh yeah, we're all healthy. Don't worry about it. Who cares? That's a joke. Okay, that's how this works. It's a joke. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. I imagine a Japanese doctor would go crazy with that data, or they thought the X-ray machine was broken or whatever. But this story is not about medical science and discoveries we make when we use the X-ray machine. It's about a bunch of friends coming together to solve a murder. So,
feels like this part of Teddy's arc was written in a completely different dimension from the one he has at the end of the game. Oh yeah, that's a bit important. Teddy has two arcs, leaving aside the fact that they're both basically the same. The game is so self-indulgent with them.
Wait a second. So you're getting more story with a character, which is what you wanted from Chie.
No, it's the wrong character.
It's
That's
just
the wrong character.
Yeah, the one he doesn't like, therefore bad. Okay.
Which I agree to an extent. I would not want extra content for Morgana.
Yes, you Morgana's gonna accompany you for the entire game. I don't want more of that.
Not only does it take an excessively long time to get them both over and done with, all the characters give Teddy way too much credit, and he even takes away from the spotlight of the real main character of the arc he's usurping. Not entirely unlike some other arc with the mascot character from a following game that will not be mentioned because I don't want to use one of my three companions on something so trivial. Anyways, the point is Teddy is given so much special treatment.
So he literally just admitted that the Morgana is
you as a player are forced to pretend that you care about him because of the dialogue choices, and he's given center stage far longer and more frequently than he has any right to. And there's this one part where he makes a joke at Yosuke's expense after he says something genuinely heartfelt and emotional towards the end of the game. Like, dude, what the fuck? When you try to be emotional, the entire team drops literally everything for you. So shut the fuck up.
So when Yosuke has been shown to be the punching bag throughout the entire game, and one character you don't like treats him as a punching bag or whatever, therefore bad. Is that why you don't like Chie? Because Chie was literally punching Yosuke? Like, what does he understand how roles and storytelling works? Like you have the
No.
protagonist, you have
No,
the
he
supporting
doesn't.
cast, you have the friend, you have the lover, you have the old man, the wise man. Like this is why are we getting so much focus on the devil in this devil summoning game? I don't know.
Why is Lucifer one of the secondary characters?
Why can you summon Satan? I don't know.
Fuck up. On a similar note of the game pretending Teddy is more important than he is, there's this part where Teddy is knocked out of commission while you fight Shadow Teddy, which, can I just point out, why does Teddy reject this Shadow when he's the one who tells everyone else not to do the same? But at this point, Yosuke
Because
says,
everyone rejects their shadow.
That's kind of the point of the shadow, is that it's literally the thing you don't want to embrace.
That's how they're manifested in the first place.
Yeah,
Why
Winter is
don't you
completely
just-
on the spot game like, money on this. Like because Teddy and Chie step on his favorite characters' lines.
Why do you not want to accept the part of you that you don't want to accept?
Oh, it's like every chapter is the same. It's like, wow, everyone has a problem.
Oh, you see someone else's house is in ruins and you tell them to clean up this shit. And then you come home to your own ruined mess and you're like, oh God, do I bear the tragedies of having to take care of my own shit? That's how everyone acts. Especially when the stuff that they're dealing with comes straight at them like this. Teddy's no fucking different. And it's a good part of his character.
Yeah, it's as if he's a character in a story in Persona where everyone has an arc and everyone has a.
It's like he's a human being.
And they have an arcana which is associated with the fates of the wild card that he has to assist with. He's a supporting cat. Like it's like, oh wow, he's a character in a story. He's involved.
says, how are we going to beat this guy without Teddy? And I'm just like, my guy, you say that like Teddy does anything at this point other than fucking talk. He's not like Rise, who has actual helpful things she can do besides navigation dialogue. No,
Teddy was the navigator before Rise, unless I got that wrong. Was it someone else?
What was the question?
Rise is the navigator, right?
She is the navigator after she gets saved in the game, yes.
Right,
but Teddy much later in the game helps out with tracking down Dachi because Rise is unable to do that alone.
Right. So he does the thing of the character he really likes, therefore he's bad.
Also, Teddy needs to be there because otherwise, they wouldn't go around what are shadows? Because that's an ongoing thing in the game as well. It doesn't just explain it to you that these are the things. They want to know where did they come from? Because that's the big mystery of the game.
All right.
And it ends up with the gas attendant.
He's just here to talk and keep track of affinities, I guess, but anyone with a brain can do that, and Teddy doesn't even have one. I feel like all the emotional beats the game tries to go for with Teddy would mean more if he actually did things besides just be an information dispenser.
Okay, plot points. Two major plot points, as he said. There's 2 arcs. He makes the glasses for everyone so they could actually fight in the first place. That's pretty important. He acts as a scout. Then Rise takes over, and then he takes over Rise for that one plot point. He has a lot of hijinks. He has a lot of humor outside of the Midnight Channel. He's a secondary Yosuke to provide more humor. I guess it's the same thing as before. What more do you want him to do for him to be a good character is what I'm asking. What is needed for this guy to wrap his brain around Teddy? You could argue Marie is just an addition. You don't really need her. She's not a character in the combat or gameplay sense. But
that is what he argued, is that Marie is a nothing character.
Really?
Yeah. Remember his whole spiel about Rise? On the screen, you can see they forgot that Marie is a romanceable character, and even if he knew, he wouldn't go back to check himself or vibe check his editing.
Yeah.
She's integral to the ending of the story, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, Tyler,
it's
it
kind of
might-
forced in though.
Tyler, it might not be viewable from the stream, but this video is 2 hours 23 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're in for the long haul.
Yeah, we're gonna close up in another 20 minutes at least. So
Yeah.
because this is taking a long.
We're probably gonna continue tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah. But he's hitting the characters, which is important, and he's not liking most of them just because they're weird and he doesn't understand them.
Like his whole character arc comes about, again, after Nanako's dungeon because he feels useless that he couldn't save her. And the thing is, he's absolutely right. Teddy does.
So you're justifying his existence, why he behaved the way he did.
Yeah, the other thing is that Nanako spells it out that like she heard Teddy's voice and that's why she came back to life. If it wasn't for Teddy, then it would be all not.
So this dude cares about the sister complex protagonist so much that he feels depressed he was useless to help her, and yet he's the only one that ends up helping her.
Bad character entirely.
What a horrible story.
Absolutely nothing of value in Nanako's dungeon.
Except for saving her life and allowing the plot to progress. If you take Teddy out of the story, Nanako dies, game's over.
Like, I'm glad you finally realized how unhelpful you are, buddy. Except I guess not, because at the end of the game, everyone is depressed and can't find Adachi in the TV world because Teddy isn't there. And I kid you not, the only reason is because Rise needs him there for moral support. It has been months.
Not moral
Months
support.
since I
Teddy
finished
is the
game.
one who sniffs out Adachi. That's no. Like, just check your fucking recordings. Like that's exactly what happens. Like there's a big suspense, and then Teddy starts tracking down Adachi, and that's how they find out that like, oh no, it's the very first place that we went to, the where the first murder happened, and that's where Adachi is hiding. Like, how much more? And he completely skipped over the fact that like Nanako came back to life because of Teddy. It's kind of disingenuous of him.
Oh yeah, that scene in the hospital where everyone's depressed.
Yeah, that's the reason why he was gone for like a week almost. Yeah, because he got depressed. That's why he was trying to find himself. Like, why does he exist? And then he realized that like, yeah, I need to accept that I am only a shadow.
And then she gets better. He's like just beaming with happiness. He just can't stop himself. He's so excited that she's alive. Everything's amazing.
Yeah.
This is kind of what you do when you have a silent protagonist, or you take the emotional weight off the strong silent character who's the main guy, the leading man, and you give it to someone else. This could have easily been with Dojima. This could have easily been with Rise, but they gave it to Teddy, the innocent child, the guy who doesn't know about the human world, and you make him care so much that he's so involved with this other little girl or other innocent little person that you give him more humanity by doing so, as opposed to if he was just like, oh, she's sick, I'm not happy. No, it's like, no, I'm questioning my very existence here. I couldn't help my best friend's little sister, cousin. Why am I even here? I'm useless. I can't do anything. And then
and Morgana has like a similar situation as well for a bit different reasons, but
yeah,
like, it just comes off again, and that's kind of like how his character grows as well. I'm not sure if this is the one where his persona evolves as well, but
yeah,
I think like this is like maybe the point when it maxes out. Yeah,
this is I don't know if he just didn't remember the game or he's being disingenuous because he was so biased against not liking the characters for maybe storytelling reasons, or he didn't like the fact that Teddy was the expo dump or whatever.
Something along those lines probably, but like I wonder what's gonna be the next character.
Yeah,
and this still makes me actually real life angry.
That's because you're weird.
Okay,
I'm gonna take a second. Just relax. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think he takes
Calm
this game,
down,
like-
mister. This is not Ruby, okay?
Yeah, he's
Chill.
taking this way too seriously, dude. It's like, are you
It's
having
fucking-
problems?
It's Persona for Teddy. It's not somebody that actually pissed in your mouth.
Okay.
You're almost done with Teddy. So anyways, Teddy comes back, we locate Adachi, and Teddy once again gets praised and celebrated for doing absolutely nothing. Fantastic. That's the
Really?
thing, Teddy is a complete piece of shit, but I wouldn't have a problem with that if the game actually treated him as such, and he learned...
He is
Wait a
treated.
second.
You like
Wait a
He
Joker?
second.
gets called out for that behavior.
He wants the main characters or whatever to attack Teddy because of how much he dislikes Teddy.
Like,
Man, what if the main character... Why didn't the main character, you, just order everyone to beat the shit out of Teddy?
Yeah,
Just
I-
fucking crack his skull open.
I mean, Naruto does that in the winter holiday. Only people have human rights.
Oh, yeah.
Get him here. Get him his Teddy suit back.
Yeah, like this is like, imagine I dislike Chie, therefore everyone should gang up on Chie and tell her how much of a poor character and friend she is.
I hate the
Fucking
kung
take-
fu movies.
Just drag her out by the hair. Like you're a fucking Cuban. Just drag her out. Jesus Christ.
This is so silly. Like, I know you dislike the character, but come on, dude. Don't start saying we need to change the story so everyone hates him and points it out.
Yeah,
It's
when
like, why?
Josuke tries to murder someone, that's hashtag relatable. Winter, you are a gem tonight.
Yeah, that's. I guess like he didn't mention that before because like that would go too far into spoilers. But that is like a major moment that I was like, whoa, okay. Like maybe that was like a red flag for Naoto because like she was also along that thing. But like, well, if nobody knows about this, like where he ends up, then I guess we didn't do it. Then it's like, oh, so you would be okay with killing this person?
Oh dear. Anyway,
thing. Instead, the characters all seem to think he's great and wonderful and not terrible, bar Yosuke sometimes because he has to live with the fucker. And Teddy is rarely ever subject to the same physical abuse
Live
that
with
the
the
girl would do on
fucker.
Yosuke, and to a lesser extent, Kanji. It's clear that the writers are fully convinced that Teddy is endearing and want to make every effort to make him the funny goofball comic relief character who's also lovable. Well,
They do it
newsflash, you
flawlessly.
guys, it didn't work.
why?
Honestly, if Teddy wasn't so horny all the time, I would tolerate him.
Oh, so
That's
that's
the-
what it
he's so-
is.
Yes,
He's a
I
prude.
knew this. I knew it. I knew it. That's his big problem.
He's showing off a character. A character's sexuality in the game is bad, therefore bad character. Or has any sexuality and is open about it. Therefore bad character.
He's probably the kind of guy that watches, the guy in any medium, be whatever store it is, that slaps a girl on the ass that he actually likes. And he's like, oh, how dare you,
You
invading
can't do
her
this after-
privacy.
Yeah,
you can't
because he
do this
likes,
after Me Too, you know.
yeah, because he likes Rise. Therefore, when Teddy hit on her, immediately bad character. Just all right. I mean, those characters are kind of annoying in general, but that's kind of the point. So to say that the annoying character is annoying is like, mission accomplished, buddy. That's the point. But he's taking it personally. Like, this is like, I got really angry in real life, dudes. Like, okay, man.
Good on you, buddy.
The video game made me angry. Like, did you break anything when you were stomping around?
I broke the disc.
I real life hurt my hand. Okay, like, all right, yeah.
I've killed at least 7 people thinking about Teddy.
Considering his first experiences with other people involve Yukiko, Kanji, and Rise's dungeons, which are all kind of sexual, it's not completely out of nowhere, but come on, that doesn't make it good. It's not like they had to make him horny, and it's not like it makes his character any better.
It's funny. Do you understand? It's funny when the fish out of water innocent little boy, who is now a young adult, hits on everything, and everyone's like, okay.
Because
They
he
know.
doesn't have any concept of like what is moral at this point.
Yeah, he's no clue. So the girls are like, oh, it's just Teddy. Don't worry. It's not a big
Can
deal.
I stay at your place tonight, Rise? What kind of question is that? Who asked
Yeah.
something like that? That's hilarious.
Compared to Yosuke, who is actively trying to get a girlfriend, and he sucks at it. Teddy's like, let's date. And it's like,
Yeah, he has like a more proactive approach. Like he manages to get all three of the girls in the scene.
and they all go with him. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like, that's
I
so
guess I get
hilarious to
how
see like
something like
Yosuke being
simple
like so angry
is,
at that.
But the game never brings it up in a constructive way. He never learns any better. So I don't really think this makes his constant horniness any less awful. Also, his second persona is peak character design. I see Teddy apologists saying that the English localization completely butchered his character. He's way better in the Japanese version. I'm just like, that doesn't matter. I don't speak Japanese. I'm playing the
Remember, if there is another version of the character with a better script, that doesn't matter because you don't speak the language.
Remember the primary source? That doesn't matter. Okay.
It's like
Oh my
reading the
God.
Odyssey. It's like, okay, you have to keep in mind that this is translated, so there's likely going to be a lot of words that are going to be lost. Well, that doesn't matter. I don't read Greek.
Oh God, this is like saying every adaptation or like look at Persona 1, what they did to all the characters, and they race swapped some of them. It's like, oh my God, this is
Disney kind of lost a lot of the meaning behind the Little Mermaid. That doesn't matter. I don't speak Danish.
Yeah. Why didn't they have slavery in this one?
Oh God. Anyway,
English localization. Most people are playing the English localization.
no, the Japanese probably outsold the English by a lot. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Atlas appeals to the Japanese market and then international. Then international. First the Japanese, then to everyone else. It only became popular after 5. That's when everyone was like, wow, Persona's awesome.
Yeah. I think like Persona 4 Golden kept the PS Vita alive. Like
Oh,
there
yeah.
were like rumors about that.
The sales were so low, yeah.
Teddy is bad in it. So I don't think it's unfair that people are judging this character based on the version they understand. Also, I highly doubt the Japanese version just has him not be horny, which is my biggest problem. I don't care how it's justified. I'm sure I would still hate it.
Oh my God. A fish out of water demon creature who wants friends has emotions that happen to be sexual. Oh no.
And it's played as a joke, kind of like in Konosuba or something.
Or any sexual related commentary in a kid's game is seen as a joke. Actually, this is like a PG-14. I don't even know the rating.
It fits into that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
PG old enough.
Old enough to know this is a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Especially since no one corrects him on it.
What?
What?
No, he hits on everyone, and everyone's like, "What are you doing, dude?"
Every
Stop
single time, Yukiko is gonna say like, "Stop with the hot stud shit."
He hits on the girls in the grocery, the women in the grocery. He's like, "Okay, come on, what are you doing? Stop. We gotta go. Stop doing that. Let's leave now." You
Can
goofball.
you prepare me this meat? That one was actually hilarious.
Yeah, that was, the one's like, "Oh, if you were here every day." Like, oh God.
Oh, you're such a kind man.
Teddy is so unlikable that it ruins the parts where he's actually good.
No.
Anytime he says something actually...
What's her name? Loves Teddy. The little girl. She loves Teddy.
Nanako-chan. Like,
Nanako,
and
yeah.
like Teddy isn't doing anything dirty around Nanako-chan, and that's his saving grace. Like,
Yeah, remember
he knows the limit.
Remember the animation where they're at the hot springs? And
Yeah.
Nanako says something like, "Are you horny, and
Yes.
and Teddy and you are playing ping pong, and they're just smashing the ball at each other like crazy.
Yes.
Oh boy, it's great.
That was a great moment.
Actually nice or does something kind, which happens like 5 times in the entire game, don't worry. It just catches me completely off guard because it feels like an entirely different character all of a sudden. Like, particularly
You mean he has
music.
depth to him? He has more than one. He's more than just a horny demon creature.
Yeah, there's more dimensions to him. It's like,
Wow,
how can this be?
it's like he's a
I need
character
to meet this character.
in a story with depth. How does that happen?
Unheard of.
part in the ending cutscene. Where was this sweet, sensitive Teddy during the actual game? At least Teddy is an integral part of the second funniest scene in the entire game, which, granted, is not saying a whole lot. But it's funny because this is the time when Teddy finally gets what's coming to him all along.
I'm sorry, Teddy.
So you were wrong. So he was wrong about no one call. Like, he's contradicting himself. He just said no one calls him out on his horniness.
Oops.
And here's the scene. This guy did not even check his own notes.
Only people have human rights.
But don't think I've changed my mind. One or two funny scenes involving him
Oh,
and a
that's
handful of
great.
good moments does not make him good.
Okay, so 3, 4. What do you need? 5? How many scenes?
But he literally wants 5, yes.
Is it 5? That's the magic number? Okay. Just so we know, because I have no idea what this guy's standards are. Character who has emotions that I don't like is bad. Like, what?
I've honestly been having to hold myself back from nitpicking way more specific scenes he's in because I just can't stand it. He's a waste of a party member, and the game would be strictly better if he was just not fucking.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so where do they get the magical glasses? To fight anything. If they never got that in the first place, no battle combat would have happened. So what kind of game is this? You just run away from demons? Or no, you die. You can't see them. They just kill you.
Mango, I understand. The dub's great. I know, shock and horror. Actual blasphemy.
It is great. It's amazing, funny animation. It's great.
The Persona dubs are one of those rare instances where I want to listen to the dub instead of the Japanese one. Like the Japanese Teddy voice is ear piercing. I can't tolerate Rise because it's perfectly going with the idol thing, but holy shit, the Teddy voice! Oh no.
Yeah, I think
combined with his footsteps, he could Japanese Teddy could probably be used as a torture method.
Something like that.
I think out of all the animations, the 4 is probably the best. Second place is 3rd, and I think 5th is a hit or miss a lot of the time. So
I think like 3 has who's the baseball guy?
Junpei.
Junpei has Vic Mignogna.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's like he's so above everyone else.
Well, the movies for 3 are great. They really fleshed out a lot of the characters. So they probably shouldn't have done that, but it's still a popular series, so why not?
Apparently, it wasn't popular enough. Same with like the Golden animation to get a dub, so they didn't do it. Which is strange because like the Persona 3 movies are pretty good.
Yeah, I really liked them. I love the intro animations, even to the Golden and the dancing. Was it Dancing All Night or Dancing at Midnight? I can't remember.
Dancing All Night, I think. Yeah. I actually prefer like the first Persona 4 ending to like the opening of Golden because I think it's like way better tonally. Yeah.
They're really good though. Like all the music, all the animation is just great quality.
Yeah.
Everything Teddy is quote-unquote necessary for can be easily changed with minimal effort. Teddy doesn't even have a particularly meaningful stake in the final conflict, which was one of the strongest aspects of Morgana. I didn't say that. I could have been talking about any mascot character from any series. Teddy's other supposed role as the emotional core of the story is kind of usurped by Yosuke in my mind, because he's the only one with a solid personal stake in the story, and watching him grow over the course of the game is actually really endearing.
So that scene in the car when he was questioning his own existence, Do you have no feelings, like no capacity for understanding what someone is going through when they lose a family member or a friend and they question their own existence, why they're even there? No feelings to that whatsoever. Okay, I mean, if that's
a very strange statement from him. It's,
he wants to eliminate his existence and go back to being a demon or a shadow because he's so useless. You can't relate to that. You can't understand that. You understand the validity, the value, the weight. And he has 2 arcs. He's like, it's stupid.
I just don't understand, like, how did Morgana get a pass from him? Or, like, because, okay, like, I've been, like, a bit harsh on Morgana. It's just, like, I don't understand, like, between the two. Like, why does the cat get a pass? Because, like, Morgana is, like, every single time Lady on is how he calls her.
Yeah,
makes like a critical hit. It's like, oh, on you're so gorgeous. It's like, okay. So you hear like a sexist statement according to him every single time, but it's like, okay, because it comes from Morgana, and he's a more integral part of the story. Why?
One of my favorite things from sorry, got distracted by Mango's comments. One of my favorite things coming out of Persona 5 was the Morgana memes about a crumb of pussy, Lady On.
Yeah.
All right. I think he's done with his rant. We're going to call it here. I think it's a good time to stop. Wow. What horrible takes. These are really bad. I was hoping for nuance. I was hoping for, like, Teddy's he provides exposition. He provides the gameplay elements. He does this. He's got 2 arcs, which is more than more character. Like, he's showing off all these things that are make characters valuable to his story in a video game. And he goes, these are all bad. And like, why?
Why?
These are all necessary to the story. And then he gets his comeuppance, even though he contradicted himself, saying he didn't. In the Golden, was it the Ski Lodge Golden? Was that Golden or just in the base as well? I don't remember.
Which one? Like,
the scene at the ski lodge where Teddy gets
that is Golden.
That is Golden.
Because the whole month of February is from Golden.
Right. So it sounds like it's fixed and added some more content with Teddy to get the things he was complaining about, but it's not enough. It's like, well, what do you want? You want him to be like sat down and like tied to a chair and like, you are not going to hit on any more human females or males ever again, Teddy.
I think like the beach scene when they go to the beach is also Golden exclusive. Yeah, it is.
Okay. Like, we don't know what makes this guy tick. We don't know what his criteria is. And even when he said 2 is not enough, you're like, all right, 3, 4, 5. How many takedowns of Teddy do you need? Just because you dislike him. This is subjectivity trying to explain away a perfectly fine story that has all, like, this is like an 80-hour game at least to get through all the characters, all the story, all the gameplay, all the upgrades. It takes time. And if you can't pick up on all the nuances or you missed it, I get it. You just don't like something, you don't pay attention. I understand that. But he's missing stuff while contradicting himself and saying things which were previously good for other characters are bad for these characters, which is contradictory, and that's stupid. So it's a bit annoying to go through this guy because he's going to keep this up. He's going to find his subjectively good character. He's like, oh, his character's great because it has 2 arcs. And it's like, what?
How about having like 16 arcs?
Oh my God. My brain would be like, how does this even pause? How many changes does this character go through?
Dr. Murky is related to all these characters because they have to discuss their problems with him. So that's why he's the best.
Can you imagine Murakami making a world within a world because he found someone within the original world that wasn't happy in his world, so he has to make another one?
Yeah.
And then it keeps going, and he's like, dude, this is getting so confusing. I don't know what's happening anymore.
Make it stop. No.
Yeah. All right, so we are at 31 minutes, 36 seconds. Let me write that down. And we will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think we have some time tomorrow, Mark and Cole. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I love videos like this because it's an in-depth. Well, we think it's in-depth. It's just long.
And it's kind of like a change of pace as well, because this is like bashing like a bad analytical video. So
it is still bashing an analytical video, but it's also something we enjoy. So it's kind of like we know better and we want to be proven wrong. And he's got some points which are factual, and all the bad points are all subjective. It's like, oh
yes.
So anyway, we will
mixed
see you guys
bag.
hopefully tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have yourself a good one. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Right.